Hi, good afternoon, children. So today we have Mr. Tamil Selvan Mahalingam with us. Mr. Selvan is a founder and CEO of FutureCaptains.com. Other than that, he is an entrepreneur, motivational speaker. Welcome to eSchool channel, Tamil sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me here.
So Tamil sir will ask you the first question. Any suggestion for the students? Because to be very honest, I see at a school level also a lot of initiative has been taken by CBSE to bring in new skills, to bring in competency based learning. But all this is going to take some time. You know, school students, they take 10 to 12 years to be ready for the industry or to be ready for the society. So what suggestions do you have for the students so that in coming few years they are ready for the industry and ready to embrace these new skills so that they are ready for these new careers and professions?
Okay. Okay. So I'll answer this in multiple parts. Okay. First part is what can the parents do? Because the schools will take a lot of time to actually speed up their efficiency to cater to these needs as the market is changing. What parents can do is, first of all, give students enough amount of exposure. When I mean exposure, we know friends, family, friends, relatives, a lot of people who are in different occupations. Now, the kids should start understanding what each and every occupation means. I keep repeating in my sessions as well. Without understanding what opportunities are available out there and making those myopic decisions of medicine, law, engineering, and CA is the worst thing that I can say that is happening to our kids today,
Yes.
right? And we all have to think beyond these four streams. uh, is that doesn't mean that there are no opportunities. There are opportunities for them, but the very notion of choosing a stream based on how much money the child can get is itself is a very wrong notion. Okay, I'm giving you a scenario. I'm just quoting an example so that we can dwell a little deeper into this topic. So so the scenario is very simple. There was a child who wanted to do bachelor's in design, right? And she was preparing for this for the last 2 years, right? And she was very passionate about it, right? And she applied for NID exams and everything, but she couldn't clear it, right? Now what happened is, because she couldn't clear NID exams, right? It doesn't mean the doors are closed for her. Doesn't mean that she cannot realize her dreams. There are other ways in which one can pursue what they want in today's context.
Yes.
For example, she can do an MDS and probably take up a bachelor's degree, which is something else, which is a bachelor's in fine arts, right? So you can do a BFA and MDes rather than straight away doing a BDes in a premium college, spending 40, 50 lakhs. And then, we don't know what salary she will get after her undergraduation. That reality is what parents completely miss out today.
True.
We don't have any clue about what the job market is going to offer, and we are willing to pay a lot of fees to the college and spend a lot of money, and then finally coming down to a point when we see that the return on investment is not that fast, right? That it's not quicker. So how do we be future ready? First, give them as much of exposure as possible. Open up their mind till at least 10th standard. Every child should have exposed themselves to meeting multiple people from different walks of life, different professionals,
Yes.
right? And should have understood what each professional is doing and how they contribute to the society. That part is completely missing out today,
Yes.
right? Second thing, we have gone over and above. There's too much of technology and too much of these focus on being ahead of the curve, everything. We have lost that art of having a hobby, a
Yes.
skill that could give us money in a time of emergency, right? Because, for example, my grandmother, she used to cook really well. She's no more. She cooks really well. If you ask me, worst case scenario, she can still sell idlis and make money.
Yes.
Worst case scenario,
True. Yes.
right? I know, a relative who can fix up things like, fix up furniture, electrical items, electronic items. Worst case scenario, he can fix up appliances and still make money. If he's not, after retirement, he can still do that, right? So trade skills, we call it trade skills, that skills that we
Or
use to fix up.
emergency skills, you can say.
Yeah, we can call it emergency skills, trade skills, which are, I think it's a big gap in the society today. There's a lot of focus on AI, ML. These technologies will keep changing. Trade skills will never change. It's in the very fabric of our society. Knitting, weaving, cooking, and fixing up, cycles, carpentry,
True.
right? Sculpting, painting, singing, instrumental music. All these things need, have a space in the society. Somewhere I think we have gone beyond that point, and we are just focusing too much of technology, which gets disrupted every 2 weeks.
Yes,
You
and
can never keep up with
unfortunately, I have seen sometimes parents coming and saying that I have just asked my child to study. I don't allow or I don't ask them to do any work in the household, which is so unfortunate because when they contribute in the household, indirectly they are picking up some skills, like your grandmother.
Correct. 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 So that is what is much needed today. If you want to survive in the future, A, get as much of exposure as possible. B, develop one or two trade skills that will serve you in the time of an emergency, right? And because, I especially girl children, right? They get married off, they don't work for many years because they want to raise a family. I tell people, don't ever do that. You give them some skill which they can, run their life with, because tomorrow if anything happens in their family friend, if they have to stand on their own legs, god forbid if it happens, so they need to be self sufficient. And that's a big killer in families today. These kids won't be kids forever, right? And they will have to face reality sometime in their life, so they need to be prepared for that future. So again, as parents, I think we need to develop those skills. It's not just academic skills that are important. Yes, they have their space, just like work while you work, play while you play. Everything has its own space and time in our life, and we have to give due respect to everything in equal priority. And the too much of focus only on, things that we can boast about, hey, my child learns robotics, hey, my son is, very good in programming. I think if a child cannot strike a conversation, what's the point in doing all these things? Today, how many children can strike a conversation and keep the conversation going? I can challenge a 12th standard student even today. Very few can actually strike up a conversation today, right? And those basic human skills have gone off. So bring them back to basics. That's my second very important thing. Trade skills and bring them back to basics is the second very important point. Third important point is give them, understand what is their unique strength. Something like memory. My son can, remember everything so vividly. My son can draw really well. My daughter is a fantastic dancer, right? Right? Dancer doesn't mean that she has to take up only dancing.
Yes.
But she has the, body intelligence, which means she can do physical activities like, she can become a doctor, a surgeon, right? Because she will have so much of, dexterity, so much of, precision with her limb movements, that she can do things with chef, right? There's so many things, pilot, driving, there's so many other skills that you can still do with your limbs. So understanding their core strengths and accordingly deriving what careers they can choose is a very important step that most likely dies down with a psychometric profiling. So most of the time, understanding their strength is a very important point for the parents to start nurturing it. So if they do these three things, like for example, A, give them as much of exposure as possible, right? B, make sure that they have some, emergency skill, trade skills that they can learn, some hobby that can be developed into a profession at some point of time, and bring them back to basics, some basic skills that can still be relevant, in the future. 3, identify their strengths, right? And nurture it as much as possible. And somewhere the dots will connect back, right? So these are the 3 things the parents can do. This is what I want to live with. And the schools can actually come up with programs by, setting up meetings, career fairs where they can expose the student. And this is what the school can do, and the school can do in terms of bringing speakers, doing career fairs and everything. But I think the parent has the maximum role in developing the child for future, and that's the point I want to leave you with in a very simple note. Yeah,
Thank you so
we can
much.
move on
I
to the
think, yes, molding a child, bringing up a child is the responsibility of all of us as a school, as parents, as society. I think that is how we can make them into an all rounded personality. So that's very elaborate and very comprehensively covered.